It's time for the Douglas Coleman Show. Mr. Smooth and Savvy is joined by guests from all walks of life, from the entertainment industry to authors to political and social commentators, the famous and not so famous, the controversial and the light and fluffy. We have it all. Now, here's Douglas Coleman.
Okay, please welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show, Felix Holzapfel. Hello, Felix. How are you?
Hi, Douglas. I'm fine. How about you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Let's see. So you're an author. You got a book out called Catch 42. Have you been an author your whole life, or did you do something else prior to writing this book?
No, I wasn't born as an author. I used to work in the IT and marketing industry and started to work in the IT and marketing industry back in 1997. And I wrote my first book in 2006. But so far, I only wrote professional books about changes in the media landscape, digital transformation, and so on. But I always had the dream of writing a novel one day to cover some of the topics that used to be my daily business or are still my daily business today, but not on a professional level, because I often experienced that there are a lot of professional books and great professional books out there about each single topic that my book combines, but they are written for the professional target audience. And I think in our days where technology is such an important part of all our lives, that it could be interesting for people to get an entertaining access to some topics that professional talks about all the time. And I also experienced that even in my industry, that when I did keynotes at industry events or whatever, and I talked about the latest trends when it comes to certain areas of technology, that people were like, is that real, or is that almost sounds like sci-fi? I was like, no, these are things that are happening today. They are not visible in the mass market, but if you go into lab A, B, C, you can touch and feel these things. Or there's a TED Talk out there that you can watch and explore that technology. Or there is a book about it that you can read if you want to read a professional book about these sort of topics. And to basically just create an easier access to the things that are already happening today and that probably will have a huge impact and shape all our future.
I think technology is moving so quickly right now that people are unable to sort of keep up with it. And I think some people don't see things that are real as being real, or don't know that they're real at this point. I was in South Korea just a couple of years ago, and there were robots running around all over the airport. And I had no idea that they had robots. And these were fairly sophisticated robots. And, it was neat. I thought it was kind of cool. But I think it could be a little intimidating for people when they have to go and speak to a robot to find where their gate is or to find where the restaurants are. So is your book covering, you said it's a sci-fi, but is it sci-fi sort of based in the trends of technology now?
Exactly. It's on the one hand, it describes the status quo and technologies of today and potential uses of technologies that are already at our fingertips. And I try to predict how things could look like in the future. And I try to create a hopefully intriguing story. Someone one day said, that a reader said that you took me into a deep dystopian rabbit hole, but I was happy at the end of the story. I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. And it turned out to be a way more optimistic book than I expected when I was in the middle of the book. And one point that you just mentioned in your question, that things are moving so quick, you're absolutely right. It's even if you're working in the industry, it's sometimes challenging to keep up with the pace, how things are developing. And you're doing it 24/7. So it's, of course, challenging for somebody who's not working in the industry. Still, we often think that we are in the middle of a technological revolution, but I believe we are not. for me, I think the world regarding in terms of technology is still flat. There are so many things to come in the future, and we are getting closer and closer to some tipping points in the field of converging technologies, where if we get to a bottleneck in one area, it will have an impact on other technologies, and it will unleash a big bang of innovation. And that right now, as we are still able to prepare certain things and to think about certain things and to decide how we want to design our future, that we would be well advised to get as many people to the table to have these sort of discussions and decision-making processes as possible. And that's at the end of the day the message of my book, to give a wake-up call that now we still have the time to make the right decisions, but one day it will be like with a pandemic, that things happen and we sit there and, whoa, what's happening now? Why aren't we prepared in a better way? And that's what should happen today, I think.
What is going to be the next major hurdle or the next major event in terms of technology? I mean, people could say that the internet back in the late 80s, early 90s, when that started to come in, was a radical transformation of people's day-to-day lives, similar to when people got electricity for the first time in their house, or even a telephone. But now we've sat with the internet for 30 years or so, and it has changed a lot from the time that it first came out to now. I think the biggest change was everybody converting from their sort of desktop and laptop computer to their phone. But essentially the process is the same. It just got smaller. Now you're working, the device got smaller. But the essential process is the same. The apps are a little bit different designs, different styles. But what's going to be the next major change, do you think?
If I knew what would be the next big thing, of course, that would put me into the front of pretty much everybody. So it's only a guess. So, and there are certain key areas where this could happen. So I could give you a couple of examples. The first is quantum computing. So today in many areas, we have a bottleneck of computing power. And quantum computers, once we get them up and running and work in a proper way, just to describe what will happen then, that a complex calculation that takes thousands of years with the fastest supercomputer we have available today could be done by a quantum computer within a couple of seconds. That's what we are talking about in the field of quantum computer. And we are not so far away from making this happen. Yeah, there are certain key things that still hold us back from making this happen. But what I believe is that often we try to apply our traditional ways of thinking to a new universe. In a small way, this happened with the internet, with the mobile revolution, with social media. It was always that we try to do the things we did in the offline world and said, yeah, we have a catalog here. Can you turn this into a website, please? And then people realize, no, it's different. It's not just a printed catalog that you put into a website. It's something else. So this is one area. If you get quantum computing work, then this would lead to a big bang in other fields of technology. For instance, artificial intelligence. Today, AI can already do amazing things. And still, experts say that AI today has the computing power of a honeybee. So how will AI look like, the robots that you mentioned, if it has the computing power of a mouse or of a monkey or of a human being? Next area where there's still a long way to go. And last but not least, the third example, biotechnology and genetic engineering. So today, we're just not able to handle the huge amount of data that we produce with, for instance, DNA sequencing. So today, with the very little DNA sequencing that we do, still we produce the amount of data every 2 years, only with DNA research, that the entire humanity produced since we started that journey. Once we would have that computing power, from one day to the other, we could calculate and handle amounts of data that would change the entire landscape of genetic engineering. And again, even today, there are really amazing things that are happening in that area. But if you think that you could do calculations that, how I already mentioned, today take thousands of years within a couple of seconds, that would be a completely game changer. And yeah, these are just 3 examples of technologies that could turn our world upside down. And I believe that in the future, it's most likely to happen when you think back to 100 years when Einstein lived. There were about 2 billion people living on our planet. And only a very tiny part of that population had access to knowledge, went to a university. So today, in the last 100 years, the number of human beings that live on our planet has quadrupled. So we are now at about 8 billion people. And the number of people that go to university has improved by 400-fold. So we have a way better access to knowledge today than we used to have in the past. And so it's most likely that there will be, or from a statistic point of view, that there will be more Einsteins, more Galileos, more Newtons that have these sort of ideas to look at our world with fresh eyes and create the ideas that take us through these bottlenecks that I just outlined.
Do you think we're going to need to find a new planet at some point?
Again, a good question. Maybe. I could imagine, yes. If you, unfortunately, one of the questions I raise in my book is that our human history showed us that we have the tendency to first need to get into real serious trouble and mess or screw things up before we take any action. And yeah, when we talk about global warming, tipping points that go along with it, there are certain tipping points where there is no way of return. But I also believe that if we use technology wisely, we have so exciting opportunities at our fingertips, and technology could help us to solve so many problems, and also the problems that we talk about when we ask the question, do we need another planet? But of course, there are different scenarios why we could use another planet. The first thing that comes to most people's mind, of course, is that it's us who destroys the environment. But of course, it could also happen something like a few million years ago when the dinosaurs got extinct, that an asteroid hits the Earth or whatever. So there are other external things, of course, you just can't predict. But I think we are still at a point, but I believe, it's not about I know, but I believe that we are still in a position where we could design our future in a much better way and in a much more active way than we unfortunately do it today.
Well, I'm just thinking not necessarily that we destroy this planet, but it just becomes too crowded, particularly with genetic engineering and people living a lot longer, people not dying off as quickly as they used to. The population on the planet is just going to explode.
Yeah.
Unless you control birth rates, then we're going to have a population explosion, which we would require more space and a new planet. You know, maybe Mars is not such a bad idea.
Again, this is something that where technology could help us to solve certain problems. Yeah, what does it mean if we have more people on our planet? We need more food. We need more water. We need more. We have problems when it comes to health, but all of these are things that could be solved by certain technological solutions. Then, when you look at this question from a completely different angle, it's also, I mean, where is the big growth in terms of population today? It used to be China, but the birth rates in China went down a little bit. And you can see the correlation between the living standards in a country and the birth rates. We have experienced that already in the Western and in the so-called first world. And today we have these high birth rates in China, India, Africa, and these sort of areas of the world. And challenges related to that when it comes to inequality, when it comes to global warming, and you are not able to live in some parts of the world anymore because it just gets too hot and people need to migrate from there to another country. And so again, it would be up to us to solve these sort of problems, because once we improve the living standards around the world, it's most likely that these countries would experience the same developments that we did, and that the birth rates would go down. You can already see that in China today.
No, that's true. In fact, I just saw something on the news that China has now upped their maximum child
Exactly.
family from 2 to 3. They're allowing people to have one more child now, because I guess their birth rates have dropped off so much.
Exactly. You can that the scientists predict that China the population will decrease, or will start to decrease in the near time future.
Yeah. We do have to wrap this up. We are kind of running out of time. I just wanted one quick question without giving away your book. We don't want to spoil it. But does this have a happy ending?
Kind of. Let's put it that way. It has an ending that I guess spends some hope.
Okay.
That, how I already mentioned, that I strongly believe we have great opportunities, great technologies at our fingertips, but it's up to us to make the right choices today, up to us to get involved and make sure that not only a few paint the bigger picture for all of us, but that more and more people get involved, that we get a more diverse group that gets involved into these decision-making processes, because we learned that in the corporate environment already, that the more diverse groups are that are working on a problem, the better the answers and the output gets. And we need to scale that onto a social level as well, I believe.
Do you have a website you want to give out, a personal one or one for the book?
The website for the book is catch-42.com, and my personal website is felixholzapfel.com, where you find information about me, my bio, my CV, and what I'm doing today, and about the book as well. Okay,
great. Well, Felix, thanks so much for coming on the show and sharing with us. Best of luck with the book. I hope it does well.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're listening to Mr. Smooth and Savvy right here on the Douglas Coleman Show. We'll be right back after these commercial messages.
Douglas Coleman's Don't Do a Podcast is a dryly humorous rant about Douglas's pet peeve, the unrelenting torrent of podcasts hitting the web on a constant basis. As technology has put podcasting within the reach of anyone, many wholly unqualified people have taken the plunge. This witty polemic tries to persuade them from broadcasting their drivel using Douglas's brand of sarcastic humor. Now on Amazon, only 99 cents.
DJC Music and DJC Productions are pleased to announce a brand new website. We have started a listing website for radio show hosts as well as potential show guests. This is a meeting site where hosts and guests can come together. Show hosts can list their show and types of guests they're interested in booking. Potential guests can list their talents, bio, accomplishments, or anything they feel makes them an interesting radio show guest. There are no recurrent payments, only a one-time $5 listing fee. Your listing will stay up until you decide to cancel. Previous guests of The Douglas Coleman Show are welcome to submit their guest listing free of charge. Go to radiohostsandguests.com. That's radiohostsandguests.com.
Love coffee, huh? But wait a minute. It seems like every time you finish a cup of coffee, you get all of these side effects along with it. Heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, acid reflux. As the world's first and only organic acid-free coffee, Tyler's Coffee is able to provide a healthier option in the solution for more than 100 million individuals who have sensitive stomachs or suffer from acid-related modalities. This is Tyler's acid-free coffee. Coffee without the consequences.
Hi, this is John Morgan, production supervisor for DJC Productions. You're listening to The Douglas Coleman Show.
Okay, please welcome to The Douglas Coleman Show, Mindy Bledsoe. Hey, Mindy, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Douglas.
Well, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it. Are you any relation to Drew Bledsoe?
You know, not to my knowledge, but I hear all Bledsoes are supposedly related. We're supposedly a small clan, but I don't know them. I don't know him. I don't know Drew.
Okay, because, I mean, it's not a real common name, right?
Right, yeah, it's really not. Yeah, I just don't know much about my family history. It's shrouded in mystery.
Oh, well, why, was somebody a criminal in your family way back when or something?
Oh, who knows? I just don't even know. I don't know anything past my father's parents. So They died before I was born, so my father has Alzheimer's now. So it's just a whole side of the family I just don't really know much about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. What we do know is that you are a director, producer, screenwriter, and an occasional actress, it says. Your new film is called The In-Between. So are you in this one, or are you just directing, producing?
Yes, I'm also in this one. I do act in this movie, yeah. Star along with Jennifer Stone, formerly of the Disney Channel's Wizards of Waverly Place. Oh. So she and I lead this film together.
Give us a little synopsis of the film.
Yeah. So it's about two best friends who go on a road trip for personal reasons, and they're also dealing with some emotional baggage and some health issues. So the characters, one character has type 1 diabetes, and the other character, it has complex regional pain syndrome. And both of these, what we call invisible illnesses that these characters have, Jennifer Stone and I have the same illnesses in real life. So when she and I thought about bringing this idea to script and then to screen, we wanted to put some representation into these chronic illnesses that we live with on a daily basis, because we hadn't really kind of seen representation of those illnesses on screen. And when I say representation, I don't mean like an explanation of what those illnesses are, just the fact that seeing a character with these kind of illnesses living life, instead of it being a kind of downer thing that someone has a chronic illness and it's sad and it's down. We wanted a representation that someone can have these illnesses and still live life. So when she and I sat down to write the script, that was forefront of our mind of how to make a movie that features some chronic illnesses, but it isn't about them at all. So that was the goal when we sat down to write it.
So if somebody sits down to watch this film, is this going to be a real downer, or is it going to be a positive? You're going to feel good when you leave?
No, it's not a downer. You're going to feel good about it. There's a lot of laughter in this. It can't be classified as a straight drama whatsoever, because there's a lot of laughter and there's also a lot of hope in there. A lot of people that have seen the film that it's resonating with, they're happy because they get to see a glimpse into someone's world where they're living with a chronic illness, but it's not a sad thing. It looks just like your neighbor or your best friend that has some kind of chronic illness. I think people will identify with it incredibly well, because we all know someone, or we all deal with that kind of hidden illness within us. So you're going to relate to the characters on screen instantly. And they're out there having fun. They're living life. They're trying to get through some emotional baggage, but they're not sad about life. They're living it. And that's fun. That's the fun part of it. Plus the music keeps you up and happy. It's loaded with music. So all good road trips.
There's a movie I'm thinking of, and all I can remember, it's been a while that this movie came out, but all I can think of is the title is There's Something Tomatoes.
There's what?
I said, in the title of the film that I'm thinking of, that I cannot remember the name, that I'm trying to wonder if your film is similar to. The title has the word tomatoes in it, and it's about some fried green tomatoes. Green tomatoes? That's the one. Now,
that's a good movie.
Is your film anything like that?
I mean, it's so. It's not so much a road trip movie for Fried Green Tomatoes, but it's got the sadness but still uplifting. I think Fried Green Tomatoes is a bit sadder than my movie, so okay. I think there's a lot more death in Fried Green Tomatoes than my movie. So yeah, I remember crying very hard in Fried Green Tomatoes. It's been a while though.
I don't know why I thought of that.
But you know what? People have cried in this movie, but it's not necessarily sad tears. I think a lot of it is the tears come with that feeling of hope and happiness inside, and seeing someone break out of their own chains, break out of their own way. So that's been causing some tears in the audience members, but all good tears, happy tears.
Happy tears. Okay.
Yeah.
I see Blaine Weaver's name in here. Boy, he gets around, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does. Blaine Weaver was the first film I ever worked on. He did a film called 6 Month Rule. It was the first film I worked on after I graduated college, and I was an assistant art director on that. And Rob Sinska, who made this, who's my producing partner, we met Blaine on that film, and we've been friends and working partners with him since then. We get around with him. He's a great human.
He's been on this show twice, and he was promoting. Yeah. Let's see, Cut to the Chase, I think, was one of them. That's the film where he just got.
I produced.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I produced Cut to the Chase.
Oh, yeah. Great. Oh, so it's a small world, isn't it? It really is.
The film community is small, isn't it?
That's the film where he got beat up. Like he had a broken nose through most of it, yeah?
Yes,
yeah.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
I did see that one. And then he was on a few months ago promoting a sort of a horror slasher film.
Yeah, he did that one over in association with Winchester College over in Virginia. That's out now too.
Okay.
I think he's actually filming a short film this week.
Now
he gets around.
He's a busy guy. Yeah. So how is things as far as film production these days? Is COVID going away that you can kind of get back to normal without so many restrictions?
I wish I could answer that question, but COVID hit, and my personal life, I became a caretaker to my mother who's dying of cancer, and so. Over the last year, I've been inside, avoiding COVID and taking care of my mother, who's dying. So I haven't worked that much outside of the in-between, the movie that I'm promoting now. So I look forward to this next chapter. I know all the restrictions are starting to lift. I know a lot of friends and coworkers that are back out there, and they're working. Rob Sinska's back out there. So every set has had different precautions for COVID safety, but they've all been very effective, and they're trying very hard. So I think it's all going to get back to a new kind of normal before we know it.
Well, I certainly hope so, because this particular industry, entertainment generally, has been hit really hard. And I have a lot of performing musicians on this show who just were stopped dead in their tracks. And it was tough on them. I mean, their money stopped coming in, and I felt really bad.
Well, that's one thing. So the music with my film is all provided by one band, essentially, with two different names. They were originally called Superwater Sympathy, and then they morphed into Hydrogen Child. And they gave us their entire catalog to use for the movie. So our soundtrack, which is available on iTunes and Amazon Music, it's all of their music, and it's actually a character in the film. You should definitely check the music out, because them as artists, they're spectacular. The music totally makes this film, and I am so in love with them as a band, as musicians. And I know they were affected by COVID also, so it's nice when like any proceeds that the soundtrack makes goes straight to the artists. So like small things like that. I miss the local indie music scene. I miss concerts. I miss discovering new bands. So I try to do anything I can to push that back out into the universe, pay it forward in some way. So I hope this movie also introduces a lot of people to Hydrogen Child. They're a fantastic band.
Well, I'll check them out, definitely. And, I appreciate hearing that, you support indie music, because that's really where, and I know I'm going to sound a little biased, but that's where I think the best music is these days.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the stuff that's being churned out by the major labels just doesn't have the...
It's the same with the movies, in my opinion.
Yes,
the bigger the studio, the bigger the production, the more rules they have, the more people they want to please, and it gets pretty watered down. So it's in the indie scene that you're finding the real humanity of people, like the stories that are being told either through music or through a narrative feature. So I wish more and more indie artists or music artists and indie filmmakers would crossbreed. Is how I wish I could say it. Just if you're a struggling filmmaker, go out and find you a band that you're obsessed with to try to do the same thing I did. Like, look, try to come up together, use their music, let them use you as a filmmaker. Like, you go hand in hand. We should be helping each other out as much as possible.
Well, I think there could be a nice barter there too, because you would have the equipment and
exactly
to do a video for them, right?
Yeah. I mean, so that's how it happened for me. Like, I did a music video for Superwater Sympathy back in 2013. That was the first time I did anything for them, and I did that because I was in love with them and I wanted to see a music video. And then I did a photo shoot for them because they didn't have someone to do a photo shoot for them. And, so it was like little things. I put in a little bit of effort over the years, giving them whatever creative product I could. And then they were able to repay me with letting me use their music in my movie.
That's super.
I'm going to pay them back with all the proceeds going to them. So it's a mutually beneficial relationship. When you're an indie artist, you can't do this alone. So I think it's the best thing you can do is to try to make those relationships, and it only helps you creatively. It helps you become a better director, actor, whatever it is you're doing. So, yeah.
Well, I really appreciate hearing that. I'm all warm and fuzzy now after hearing that.
Oh, good.
Because, indie artists in general are not, heavy with cash. So to have to pay somebody to produce a professional video for you can cost a lot of money. And the idea that you can barter with filmmakers who most, musicians and songwriters aspire to get their music on a film of some kind.
Exactly.
So there's that part to it. I mean, everybody's happy in that deal. And I think that's wonderful. I think that's great. I wanted to ask you one question, and then we got to kind of wrap this up.
Okay.
This film, The In-Between, is a short film or a full feature?
It's a full feature. It's 78 minutes.
Okay. On your bio, it says that you have 5 award-winning short films and currently on the festival circuit. I guess this is a technical question. Where does the line draw between a short film and a full feature?
Yeah, it's usually the 60-minute mark. Short films are generally classed like 3 to everyone's different, but it's like 3 to 55 minutes. And then feature films are over 60 and under 130, or 120. So every festival is just slightly different, but those are generally the parameters in which you stick with. Long time ago, they decided that 90 minutes was like the magic feature-length movie time. And we're I think it's evolving in some ways, but there's still the parameters that the big industry has put down before us to decide what is what, and we still follow.
So anything over that is called an epic? Is that how they describe it?
That would probably be it, exactly.
Yeah. Because there haven't been too many like that. I mean, the last one I can think of is Titanic, which was 3 hours plus, right?
Yeah, I mean, and then I think, like, wasn't the last Avatar? I mean, and also we're looking at these are huge directors with way too much money. I mean, they have they can afford to make something epic, you know? So, let's keep it to them. I think there's been a couple of indie films that have definitely gone over the 2.5 hour mark. And they're generally foreign, not so much American.
Europeans have a slightly different style of making films. It's hard to put a finger on what it is.
It is.
But they tend to draw out the details a little bit longer than we do.
Yes.
Maybe it's just...
Yes. I would like to say they savor the details.
They savor the details, yeah.
Yeah.
I've noticed that.
They see the character and the story in the details. You know, America likes it fast and
cut. Yeah, really just
chopped
up.
We like our movies to look like a music video. You know.
That's a good way to put it.
Get through it, get me the point.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's reflective of our lifestyle here, too. I mean, European people go a little slower. They take longer to enjoy their lunch and their dinners and their families. Yeah. And we're just, walking and eating at the same time most of the time.
Yeah. How much can we consume at once?
Exactly. All right, Mindy. Well, listen, we got to wrap this up. Thanks so much for coming on. Do you have a website that you want to give out for the film or a personal website?
Yeah. inbetweenmovie.com. You can find links to the movie. It's available on VOD, so you can see it on iTunes, Amazon, Vudu. We've got pre-sale links for the Blu-ray, which are available now. The Blu-ray contains commentary from Jennifer Stone and myself, and also links for the soundtrack. So, check out inbetweenmovie.com.
Okay, great. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Douglas. It was a